Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum with me here to do justice to the discussion. I have a political analyst, political affairs commentator. When I got to see his post talking about his status update, I was like, wow, this guy truly is into international analysis. And I was like saying he's going to definitely join me in today's edition of International Forum. Join me, welcome, Wisdom Elder. It's good to have you on International Forum.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
And
welcome.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, so anybody close to me, I call him the prof. To me, he's a professor. When you start talking about history, international relations, what led to what, how the countries are like, faring right now in terms of international politics. I know that we are in for a lecture today. Join me, welcome, Don Felix Osayeme. Welcome to International Forum. Proceed to comment, sir.
Thank you very much, Wilson.
Yes,
right. Good afternoon.
People are thinking that Brics would be a tipping point, or better still, a balancing point when we talk about power, economic power, political power, because they say once you control the global economy, you control global politics. But right now, Donald Trump is beginning to sense the power of Brics, and he has reacted, saying, oh, you Brics members, you acolytes, whatever you choose to be, if you guys go ahead with the plan you guys are planning to displace the dollar for being a global currency, there will be consequence. He didn't mince word, he said it. You know Donald Trump, he always do what he says. I don't know. Let me start off with Wisdom Elder before I come for the lecture part of it. Now, what do you feel about this particular threat?
Okay, well, Donald Trump is a businessman as well as a president. At least one time he's been a president, and he's just going to be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States. So he is a businessman, and he understands international business very well, and he understands the power of the U.S. Economy over the world, and the U.S. currency, the strength of the U.S. currency, and the implications of having to control the foreign reserves of the world. They understand international coordination when it has to do with domineering international markets with the IMF, with the World Bank, and all the rest of them. And these things are actually what strengthens the capacity of the U.S. economy. And coming to the BRICS is just, yes, they came together to collaborate, to strengthen their own economy, and to develop themselves economically. But along the line, they also started bringing out this resolve of doing away with the US dollars in international trade, which some of them have perfected. And that will mean a lot and create certain level of impact as far as the dollar is concerned, if that continues. That's to say, if member countries begin to join them. So I think the position of Donald Trump will definitely put a check to how other countries might want to, because we talk about Brazil, Russia, India, and China and South Africa. That's the composition of the BRICS. And we talk about these 5 countries, which so many other countries are already itching to join, like Iran and all the rest of them. And then that will mean making international trade without the dollar. And some of these countries also enjoy international trade. As far as the US is concerned, they enjoy international trade. So many of them, like China, US is one of their major consumers of so many of their products, and so many of their exports are coming to US, from food item, agricultural based item, to technology and all the rest of them. And so many US companies are also boosting and developing the Chinese economy by having so many of their central operating centers in China. So a lot of these people have actually enjoyed bilateral arrangements. You remember the last time Donald Trump was there, he placed sanctions on China, and that actually reduced the kind of benefits that China was making, because China, they have a strange way of negotiating their trades, and they must always win. And if you are not a businessman like Donald Trump, you will always be on the losing side if you are doing business with China. Irrespective of the fact that China is in the Brics, China will always want to also cut a deal with any other country depending on the currency they want to trade. That's one thing with China. They are very flexible in international banking. But some other people, like the Russian, for example, they might be very strict with international trade, and they might be so strict that they might not want to be flexible in dealing with other people who might not share the same sentiment. But that's not the Chinese man's way of doing things. He wants to be there, he wants to be everywhere at the same time.
All right. Well, Prof, I believe you've been watching, you've been listening. Of course, I want to take us on memory lane about the formation of Brics. Do you think they're about to fulfill one of their aims, taking the strength of the dollar from the international community or international economy?
Let's start by looking at the origin of this intergovernmental body. When it started in 2006 in New York, it was just called BRIC then. It was Brazil, Russia, India, and China. It was their finance ministers that actually met, and they looked for ways to improve their trade relations, investment in particulars at that time. But by 2009, when they had their first formal meeting that we'll now call the inauguration, they have now developed profile, and it was in that 2009 meeting that Medvedev was in charge of Russia then. Putin mentioned that it would not be proper that only the dollar should be the international trade currency. He did not say the dollar should be dropped. He was suggesting that there should be an international or another currency or another medium that would be used as an alternate to the dollar that will not be susceptible to the variations and fluctuations that the dollar will experience. Because the dollar is dependent on the strength of the American government, and the dollar is the international trade currency. So as at 2009, when BRIC was officially created, that was the position. And the moment Russia made that allusion, the dollar's rates at the international level dropped, because it was a shock to the international system that somebody of Putin's status to openly speak such. By 2010, South Africa was invited by China, and by 2011, South Africa officially became a member of BRICS. So the name now changed to BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And from that time, they've been developing their proposal, and the headquarters is actually based in China. That's where they have their tower. And as of today, the number has increased to 9. This time we have UAE, Iran, Ethiopia, and Egypt. They have been co-opted as members. Saudi Arabia has been offered membership. Saudi Arabia has not yet accepted, but is considering it. Our country, Nigeria, is considering it. So BRICS is now moving from being an economic organization at the international level to become an international governmental organization that has both economic and political outlook. And this is where the matter gets interesting. The contest between the US and China is on one side. The US and Russia is on that side. The proportion of friendship tends to be that China and Russia will always stand on one side against the US. That's the normal thing in international political relations. Because there are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, we have permanent interests. And that is what Trump is going to make allusion to right now. Because China is actually the one to watch out for, not Russia. The US is not bothered about Russia per se. Because even when the Ukrainian debacle started 2 years ago, Russia made some moves that said any purchase of Russian item or Russian equipment should be denominated in ruble. That's why Russia is surviving. But Russia insists that our currency should be the trade currency, and she has valuable items to offer in the international market. If you are buying, you cannot buy with dollar because US placed sanctions and locked Russia from the global inter-switch system. The Russians said, okay, we'll use our own. So by buying things in ruble, which is the Russian currency, Russia is able to remain stable. That is why for 2 years, the Russian economy has not run aground. In the same way, talking of Brics now, developing a currency. Brics has not openly developed a currency, but they are working it out, and this is the reality. In reality, we call this an acyclosis in history. Empires rise and fall. The US has had its day in the sun. The US will soon be eclipsed, and it is China that will eclipse the US, not Russia. We should be looking at the reality, just as this young man in South Africa keeps saying, the one in that, what was that his name, this activist in South Africa? Julius Malema. Malema keeps telling everybody that cares to listen that he will be president of South Africa one day. He said he's telling people to adjust to that reality so that it will be less painful for them when he becomes president. In the same way, the US is aware that China is making every effort to upstage her. China has offered that South Africa should join. South Africa joined. China is making overtures to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the US biggest trade partner in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia has the largest reserve of crude oil in the world, apart from Russia, that has not even tapped half of its own. The US also has. But Saudi Arabia today is topping the chart. UAE is the economic hub of the Middle East and the meeting point of world global marketers. They have joined Brics. Now, let's get to the center that would be very interesting. Recently, China started buying US bonds through Saudi Arabia. China is not buying directly. If China tries to buy that, the US government will not accept. So China is
buying by proxy.
Yes, they're buying by proxy, which is allowed. They simply bought through Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is the US biggest trade partner. The US will not prevent Saudi Arabia from buying. So the Chinese is buying through the Arabs. And why are they buying through Saudi Arabia? You may also not be aware that recently China has moved into cryptocurrency. These are areas that the US has held very strong. Now, say you want to create an alternate currency to the dollar at the international marketing level, it's something that the US will come to terms with very soon.
Sure. All right. I'll come back to you.
It will happen.
It will happen. But why is US afraid? Because they're trying to come out and say, look, if you guys try it, if you even breathe about it, 100% sanction, as in no holds barred for
Tariff.
you. Tariff. Tariff is sanction also, in a way.
No, not necessarily.
He said no matter what, 1% tariff on you, your acolytes, you just, why is Donald Trump so worried about it? After all, it's a global village, global economy, everybody have the right to be a player, whether major or minor.
Okay, I would say Donald Trump might have become concerned about it because Donald Trump has not been the person in power. Now, a politician has been in power and someone who does not understand how global economy works. The analysis he has given about China, they are always on their toes, trying to maximize every opportunity from all angles. That is China for you. Even though they are with Russia today, China can also be with another group of people tomorrow. So, but one thing about America the last 4 years is that in terms of the economy, in terms of global presence, in terms of taking control of certain areas where China could take advantage of, the US has never been has never been at the forefront because we have not had a Donald Trump that understands how global economy works. We have not had such person at the forefront, at the center stage. You know, this is a man that came up and said, we are even the ones sponsoring or funding NATO. So we are just going to withdraw our funding and then except they will abide by our rules. And he looked into the American economy and he realized that China was making hell of money and then the US was not making anything. The same thing with all the oil, energy producing countries. So he started placing sanctions, reviewing the deals and making sure that some of these deals that were signed by politicians who never knew the intricacies of what they actually, went in for. He started reviewing them. And by the time he placed some sanctions on China and put some restrictions on Mexico and did certain other, sanctions, before you know it, a lot of funds started coming from those places that funds were not coming from. And then the US economy started regaining and getting his strength. But immediately he left, these things were happened to have been reversed. So that actually should have been the reason for the concern. Not that a man like Donald Trump will not know what to do, because I always know that no matter how we want to look at it, the U.S. is always trying to be ahead of every other country. That is the fact. The U.S. is always trying to be ahead of every other country. The way they fund, the way they release aid, the way they handle certain situations, both in wartime and all the rest of them, they are always ahead. You can hardly see China doing the kind of charity or the kind of aid or something that the U.S. is doing, and everywhere, all over the world. So it's very possible that if U.S. comes back to this Trump administration, and with the kind of people he's bringing into his cabinet, a lot of them are accomplished business people, fulfilled billionaires who have really succeeded all over the world, and these are the right kind of people he wants to bring to get about a kind of transformation. Look at the area where he's bringing in Elon Musk, to reduce cost of governance, to transform a lot of bureaucracies and bottlenecks that happens within administration. All these things will definitely transform a U.S. economy, and that's why I say U.S. is always trying to be a step ahead. That is the only reason why some countries have been in charge and they have never fallen.
All right.
Yes, because like he said, nations fall, like empires can rise and they can fall. But
right.
Some have realized why empires fell, and they have been trying to make sure they are always one step ahead of the game.
All right, and we will come back again after this break to talk more on this particular discussion. How come Joe Biden didn't say this? Are you talking about politicians right now, technocrats with businessmen in power? Is that what the world really needs right now? Do stay. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. We are taking a look at Brics, the prospect of being a global stabilizer, disruptor of our global economy, and of course, analyzing the threats of Donald Trump. From what he said America is able to stay on top because they tend to see ahead. Is that a spider sense spiking right now that there is danger if Brics is able to bring out their own currency? Don't forget that the EU also, they have their own currency. It did not affect American currency. So why is Trump so particular about Brics bringing out their currency?
Well, Brics should be looked at as it is, not as we think it should be. Brazil, Russia, India, China, check their population. That's almost half of more than half of the world population. Russia is not as populous, but India and China hold more than half of the population of the world. What about productivity? Their gross domestic product, their GDP. These are very powerful countries. Russia, China, India, Brazil. South Africa has the largest economy in Africa. Nigeria is the most populous, but we are not the strongest in economic terms. It is South Africa, followed by Egypt, not even Nigeria. We are just a distant fourth or fifth. But we help Nigeria by convincing ourselves. But look at the argument that is before us. Why is Trump worried? And if you ask me this question, I'll give you an answer. Trump is having a sixth sense of danger. Trump is not a basic politician. He's a businessman in politics. So he looks at cost and benefits. Of course, he'd be a cost-benefit analysis. That's what he does. And that's why when he was president, the 45th president, what did he say? He said, NATO, what is America paying in? What are the European partners paying in? So America is big brother to the whole of Europe, using American funds to secure another continent. He said, no. The New Deal, pay your own protection costs so that you will share burden. It's not the US that will even get the first hit if Russia goes on rampage. It is the European powers. So Trump reviewed these things, and that is why some people don't like Trump. But I see what Trump says. Trump and Putin, they think alike. Yes. They are very, very close in thinking. Because Trump will always tell you, what is this? What is in it for me? What will I lose if I walk away from this? And that is why they will not call his bluff. They will not call his bluff because America is the biggest trade partner to who? To China.
China.
The Chinese don't want to lose that market. There's this tendency to mistake. I think social media is spoiling the mind of our people to believe that the global trade system moves from southern hemisphere to northern hemisphere. That's not correct. The biggest trade relations in the world is in the northern hemisphere. Russia, China, the US, they are all big trade partners. Canada, India, they even do less trade with us in the southern part of the globe. They do more trade with themselves up there. So it will not be funny when Trump is saying, I will impose 100% tariff. That means whatever you are bringing to sell for us, you pay more. And let us be very sure.
But that's a sanction.
No, hold on. It's not a sanction. It's trade war. It's not sanction. Sanction is you say, I will hold this from you. Yes. I will take this from you. This is not sanction. He's telling them, you bring this, you pay for it to bring to my country. That is the deal. Yes. So if you know that if you pay for it, and who is going to bear the cost in the long run? The end user, the consumer. And the consumer will begin to stop buying your product. You lose the market. It's a very tactical, if I say strategic move, then tactical, it's a strategic move. If you bring out that currency, which you do not necessarily need to bring out, because why is the dollar so powerful? The dollar is powerful because the whole world uses the dollar. The dollar is powerful because America prints the dollar, and many countries denominate their foreign reserve in dollar terms. If you use my name to sell any item, I'm richer than you that produce the item. That's what the dollar is doing. So the dollar is the standard of global transaction.
But that's what Brics wants to break.
Brics cannot break it overnight. It will happen, but not now. It will happen. It's not going to happen now. China said by 2050 they will be the biggest power in the world. China is working towards that. Later, China did a review. They said they are going to be the biggest power in the world by 2035. We are in 2024. We are 11 years away from that. 11 years, a lot of things can happen. Whether we like Trump or not, Joe Biden played into that card. And you know Trump used to call Joe Biden Sleepy Joe. He really slept on a lot of things. Always observe American political system. The Democrats do well internally. They fail in international relations. That has happened again now. Trump is already saying by the time he takes over on the 20th of January 2025, he has warned the people that are holding Israeli hostage in Gaza.
Yes.
Hezbollah has called for truce because of Trump. Trump has not entered office. People are already adjusting. Why are they adjusting? Because they know that this man will go all out. It's not, people call him a brute, that is bullish. Yes, but that is how power works. Power is useless if it's not useful. China is not so friendly. We think Chinese are good. They are not even, in fact, Chinese are going to be worse than Americans when they take over the world. Because the Chinese don't cut corners. Americans even hold on to a little bit of what we call humanitarian policies. Americans will tell you, okay, fundamental human rights. The Chinese don't have that. They don't respect that. The Chinese look at only one thing. What is China's gain? Even if it means selling all others for China to survive. Of course, that is the end of what we call enlightened self-interest. And I will not blame them. It is foolhardy of any country to believe that another country will think of them, or think for them, or feel for them. That is not the way the world works. It's a game of power. And in the game of power, you win and you gain, or you lose and you fall out. That is the reality.
All right. Now, with this threat of 100% tariff, do you see Brics budging? Because as we speak right now, many countries, like you rightly said, really want to be part of Brics, whether directly or indirectly via affiliations. Say, look, though we are not there, but at least we have this connection with you because of what they stand to gain.
Okay, I want you to, like he said, we should not overestimate what Brics is. Yes, we just have, here we have 9 countries, for example, and these 9 countries, yes, they are coming together, but that does not mean that...
Just 9 countries, out of the whole country in the world, just 9. And America is shaking.
Not just 9. No. They are the most populous countries in the world.
They are the most.
India and China
hold the most.
Over almost 3 billion people.
Yeah, but you have to understand, that in the midst of these countries, you have Russia, who will always, like he said, think in the best interest of Russia, and China in the best interest of China. And you have America coming back to Donald Trump, who want to think in the best interest of America. So it will be you know, when you want to take over an economy, the global economy, for example, there are so many activities that goes underway for a very long time, which happens to become the program of that country or that economy. But for these BRICS now, I don't see BRICS going that far as to how the US has gone in the past years all over the world. Talk of China, for example, talk of India, for example, talk of Russia, for example. These countries are always interested about what is in it for them. But I've always seen a US that is ready to have military base all over the world, sponsoring those military bases to help to protect those countries that their people are in. And I've seen US, giving humanitarian aids all over the world. I've seen US raising organizations, non-governmental organizations that handle so many challenges, whether it's AIDS, HIV, whether it's malaria, whether it's any kind of epidemic. I've seen US at the forefront. You cannot tell about this in other countries. And some of these countries, if they are coming in, they are coming in for negotiation, they are coming in for business. And take, for example, the Chinese, China rose to dominate globally by signing a bilateral agreement with countries to bring their products into each country, and then to have their product, to be bringing their product down to those countries. And within the period in view, they had a tax cuts. They did not give them that, they were not allowed to pay taxes for those products that were coming in. And within that period, they were able to infiltrate those markets of so many countries with their products. And when the agreement for, let's say, 5 years was about to expire, China withdrew. And then those countries started coming to China to buy because they know they have already gotten used to China products. So they left and started coming to China to buy. And that is part of how China just got into. So these schemes and these strategies, to an extent, it is going to be difficult when certain persons are always thinking for themselves, for you to say they want to take over a global economy, if that is the perspective they are using. But if there are other dynamics that they have to bring into play, then we can begin to look at the possibility. But for now, I don't think their own arrangements, their own makeup in terms of global business has a way of taking over. All right.
Now, some of the opinion that America have been cheating the world for so long because they're like, the ones in charge of global economy. It's the right thing for BRICS to come out with their own kind of economy to at least create a kind of a balance in international trade and economy. What do you have to say about that?
Some people tend to be very childish. Let me use the French term, puerile.
They're really childish what they're saying, the truth.
That's not truth. That is, we should be looking at reality. Truth is a moral claim. Reality is a factual situation. Even the countries that are saying they want BRICS, when BRICS will start hitting them with its own terms, they will see complaint tomorrow. See, in the global system, there's always a powerful state that dominates. We call it the hegemony system. In hegemony, a state will begin to project its interest. It is not the interest of the state that is the issue. It should be what is the capacity of that state to carry others forward. That's why I mentioned just now that the China that we are all happy today saying China is coming, China is coming. China is really coming. When China will calm down fully, people will say, oh, we wish America had lasted longer.
Yes.
And the tendency is always to, the Americans use this simple rule of, they say their own is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What is the Chinese motto in the global market? Chinese is China first. The Chinese will tell you, if you want this product, we can make this version for you. If you want this standard, the Americans will tell you, no, this is a standard. The Americans will give a global standard. The Chinese will tell you, how do you want us to manipulate it? That is the kind of system. You see, we should
typical Igbo man, how do we do it? What do we do?
So they will not keep to standard. These people are looking at their own benefits. Okay. For themselves, they know the best. They keep the best for themselves. They would ask you, do you want the same type we have at this cost? Or you want this one that is midway? at this cost, or this one that is watered down at this cost. Your choice. And when you are left with such choices, most times you take the path of least resistance. Oh, okay, this one is easy. I want this one. We'll give some to the populace, but we, the elite, will take your own version. So you create two words in one. Americans don't do that. The Europeans don't do that. That's why Americans are more comfortable dealing with Europeans, because they know that they think alike. They have a standard. There's what we call the welfarist mentality, which is that everybody should get something.
Yes.
That's why, if you also observe, that's why their societies have been more stable. Their societies have been more stable over the years because they've liberalized sources. Everybody should get something. But in these other countries, yes, there is a tendency to say there is progress. But the progress is canalized. It is the leadership that will tell you this is where the progress will go to, this is where we'll go to. If you don't fit in, you'll be snuffed out.
All right, you just hold on. I want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue with this discussion. Do not go away. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. We're taking a look at the concept of Brics being a stabilizing factor, or whatever we can say. They are like, the stabilizing factor in global economy. Now let's take a look at the vision statement of Brics. They have various aspects, economically speaking, being one community and all that. Now that seems to be a template gotten from the Eurozone. And they are doing just fine. The currency, euro, is bigger or stronger, so to speak, right now in some terms than the US dollars, but the US dollar seems to be predominant. So, is this all about the money? Or all about community coming together to form a kind of a group that can say no to total dominance of dollars in international markets? Take it up from there. Prof.
Okay. We should go back to the pragmatics. The euro is a currency for the European Economic Community, which is a contiguous geographical, or what we can call a geospatial entity, because it's in one immediate location. Brics is not like that. Brics is a global intergovernmental relation. China and Russia are the closest. Brazil is another continent. It's in South America. India is in Asia, bordering China, but not so close. There are other intervening countries between. Then we look at South Africa. South Africa is the southernmost tip. The Republic of South Africa is the southernmost tip of the African continent. Iran is in Asia too. It's in the Middle East. Ethiopia is in the Horn of Africa. UAE is close to Saudi Arabia. It's an Arabian state. It's in Asia too. Egypt is in northern part of Africa. So they are dispersed. But what is common is that the first four are among the G20, the powerful countries of the world. They are among the G20. So their productivity, their economy is not in doubt. That is the strength. That is the common factor that pulled the first four, and later South Africa, because South Africa is also doing well economically to make the first five. The latest four that joined the 2024, Iran, Egypt. Egypt is doing very well too in Africa. Egypt is progressive. It's not, if it's an emerging economy, it's not a developing economy. It's doing very well. Ethiopia is not doing well. So Ethiopia is going to be latching on. It's going to freeload by piggybacking. That's climbing on somebody's back to move ahead.
Because they just have the market. They have the at least
they don't really have the market.
population.
Ethiopia is a small country. Ethiopia doesn't have that kind of resource base. It's just what we can call the hype to say we belong to Brics. Those things will be needed later for the context that will come when the trade war will really start. You need space for adjustment. This is a strategic game. That's why I said, I know it will come to America falling out with Brics, but it will not happen in the next 10 years. It's going to be fight of the future. So to create a currency that will be used for international trade will not be easy. But they are already saying they want to start dealing with themselves using that currency. It is a possibility. It is not happening immediately. Russia is still trying to contain Ukraine. That is depleting Russia's resources too. Russia has a lot of investment all over the world. America held on to some as sanctions were placed on Russia. Russia has not sanctioned the U.S. per se by holding on to the United States' assets. The U.S. has better liquidity on a global scale. The U.S. is one of the biggest debtors in the world. It's also one of the biggest creditors in the world. It's a balancing mechanism. China is becoming a greater creditor than debtor. But China is investing in economies and seizing national assets. Is China making a better case? The answer is also no. But China is also building its interest. So these are states that are building their capacities at the rate where it is their own interest they are looking at first, not the global interest. So judging America, or people saying that the Americans have dominated the world, they are cheating the world. If America is not there, someone will be there to do the job. Let's not run away from that.
So someone will be there to cheat the world.
Someone will
Is that what they say, right?
It's a matter of the level of gain or loss for the participants.
All right.
There are some countries, Israel will not complain that America is cheating them till tomorrow. Israel will always pray that America will get stronger.
Because they benefit from America.
That is it.
All
so
right.
there are countries that are considered as most favored nations of the Americans. America will give you a lot. There are countries that are also bellicose. America will also cage you, if possible. South Korea, they are benefiting from America. North Korea is not. So in terms of perception, the North Koreans will hate Americans, while the South Koreans will love Americans.
Okay.
Taiwan is benefiting from America. Taiwan has not been swallowed by China today because of America. If America chooses to step back a bit, China is ready to take Taiwan the next minute.
All
so
right.
These are issues.
Well, Prof, this is your last line on this discussion. We come to Wisdom Elder to give his last line of discussion. It's like the line has been drawn. Donald Trump is a man or a president known for drawing lines. Don't cross this line. You cross this line, I'm going to bite. And he does bite. With this warning and threat, do you think Brics will roll back a little?
All right. First of all, I want you to look at the makeup, how Brics is trying to emerge. For Brics to be coming up when Euro is trying to become stronger means a strong distraction, not to the dollar, but to Euro. And the countries that are trying to come together are not the countries that are within that American space, but the European space. So all these things are going to also play. If America finally gets to know the advantage of the war that the BRICS wants to introduce, especially on how they can dominate, it will end up giving America even more edge. You understand? And look at the other side. If they want to adopt a currency, for example, is it China that will now bring the currency? Or is it Russia that will not accept China? Or is it India and all the rest of it? So these are factors. So I think for now, they are more interested with agitation and trying to push for something, for recognition, not really planning for the future. Any organization that is coming out because of recognition, because of themselves, immediately, and they want to prove to the dollar that they can do without them, might finally end up coming out and then crash landing without actually succeeding for the future. But the first thing they would have done would have been what Euro started doing, planning together and then planning strategically and influencing other continents, other areas of the world, and then gradually building their capacity so that they can be able to match the dollar. And gradually, they started matching the dollar. So if Euro was pushing for this kind of agenda, how they can now move without using the dollar, it would have been a very strong contention. But now we are seeing a whole new group of countries altogether who also have vested interest in the US economy, have vested interest in Euro, and so they have their own interests. So I don't think it's going to create any tension for the US.
All right, so for now we cannot deduce that the fear of Trump is the beginning of wisdom in this particular regards. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your wonderful analysis. BRICS still waxing stronger. Yes, for other nations to sit on the part of BRICS, that means they have something to offer. We might not see it fully. The countries that started it, maybe they have seen it already. Maybe they have a plan. They have a future. They have a hope. Donald Trump, his spider sense or his sixth sense just beginning to pick on it, saying, look, if you guys try to do what I think you want to do, definitely 100% tariff on anything that has to do with you, your acolyte. You think these will make BRICS have a rethink. That is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Brics, and other nations showing interest to be part of Brics. Well, the story continues. We are watching, and our responsibility is to bring you reports. Gentlemen, once more, appreciate both of you. See you next week, Tuesday on the same platform.
Thank you very much.
Bye for now.